Hello and welcome everyone to the Party Animal Podcast, episode number 8, College Parties. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Luna.
Today we are embarking on an in-depth exploration of a topic that is just so central to the American college experience.
The party scene.
Exactly. We've compiled a fascinating set of materials, and we're going to be looking at the high-intensity excitement, the genuine human connections.
But also the extremely serious safety issues that are, they're intrinsically linked to college social life.
That's right. Our mission in this discussion is to really unpack the full, complex spectrum of what students encounter socially.
And to do that, we're using the lens of a very specific and highly anticipated event known as Midnight Madness.
Which takes place in Coral Gables, Florida. And this helps us illustrate all these different points.
Yeah, and the setting itself it's almost like a character in this story. Coral Gables is described as this incredibly vibrant, almost idyllic college town.
And this particular event, Midnight Madness, It wasn't just some casual Friday night gathering.
No, not at all. It was hosted by a renowned fraternity, and it was widely viewed as a crucial rite of passage.
The reporting suggests that the social pressure around this event was just immense.
That feeling that students had to attend or their college experience would somehow be incomplete.
Right. And that really elevates the risk factors, and it sets the stage for a lot of the chaotic elements we're going to discuss.
Exactly. It's that initial heightened anticipation that really defines the early atmosphere of the college party circuit.
Okay, so let's unpack that. How does that anticipation build into something so powerful?
Well, if we look at the lead up to legendary events like Midnight Madness, the planning, the sheer amount of hype, it sounds intense.
Yeah, the materials we reviewed indicate these parties aren't just whipped up overnight.
No, they are planned for weeks, whispered about in the dining halls, and they just generate this incredible buzz.
And what's interesting, according to the findings, is that expectations almost inevitably exceed reality. People build these events up into mythical proportions in their minds.
They absolutely do, because these events, before they even start, they're already wrapped up in this thick layer of social mythology.
Students are coordinating outfits, rearranging their academic schedule,
working calendars. The anticipation itself becomes a kind of social currency on campus.
Right. And we hear about a student named Derek who had a roommate. And this roommate would come back from a previous Midnight Madness with stories that seemed almost mythical.
Mythical in what sense? Like the scale of it, or?
It was a bit of everything, honestly. We heard tales of truly elaborate decorations, sometimes costing thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah, transforming a fraternity house into a whole themed environment like a jungle or a space station.
And there were stories of celebrity DJs flown in, and this crucial element of lasting connection.
Lasting connections. Friendships or relationships that were supposedly forged in the chaos that then defined their remaining years in college.
So for someone observing from the outside, like Derek, those tales would just fuel this intense curiosity.
Exactly. This nagging feeling that they're missing out on something profound and defining.
Which brings us to Derek himself. He's a really interesting case study here.
He was the diligent, responsible academic, someone who, for 3 long years, had watched this whole scene unfold strictly from the sidelines.
He had his books, his study groups, his schedule, but those mythical stories kept nagging at him.
Yes. And his internal conflict, it really speaks to that powerful, almost innate human desire to belong.
So Derek reached his senior year, and that question really hit him. Had he been intentionally missing out on something that felt essential to the college experience?
And this isn't just about fun. It's about validating one's position, one's social experience within the whole institution. He felt a ticking clock.
So he approached it like the academic he was?
Right. The reporting showed he prepared mentally. He set strict boundaries for himself.
He even researched the fraternity's reputation and previous safety records, a very methodical approach to entering a chaotic environment.
Preparing for a party like it's a high-stakes final exam.
But that meticulous preparation, it proves that he recognized the inherent risks from the very start.
Yet the desire for that essential experience, that feeling of being a true college participant, ultimately pushed him to go.
So what was it like, the immediate environment, when he finally arrived?
It was just pure, unadulterated sensory overload, right from the moment he stepped onto the street.
The description is incredibly vivid.
The house wasn't just lit up, it was glowing like a beacon, a signal to the entire campus. pulsating with colored lights synchronized to a bass line so deep it vibrated the ground.
You could feel it before you could even see it.
Exactly. As he walked toward the entrance, the energy of the crowd streaming in alongside him was genuinely infectious. It was a physical experience before he even crossed the threshold.
And once he managed to navigate the crowded entry and squeeze inside,
The experience intensified tenfold. The sound level, the physical density of the crowd, the rising temperature. It was immediate and completely overwhelming.
you're instantly immersed in this sea of bodies and sound.
Yeah.
But this is where the observations get really insightful. Derek noticed a surprising, temporary shift in identity among his peers, almost immediately.
The persona shift. This is so fascinating because it explains the mechanism of the escape.
It really does. He saw people he knew only as quiet, focused students acting completely differently.
The quiet biology lab student who barely spoke during lectures,
Was now dancing wildly and unselfconsciously in the middle of the living room,
and the serious, buttoned-up debate captain.
laughing uncontrollably at the bar, shouting over the music. The atmosphere essentially gave everyone permission to shed their daytime personas.
It's a temporary suspension of reality. The pressure of GPA, career planning, all those future worries, they seem to vanish.
Yes, they embrace these alternate, uninhibited versions of themselves. That shedding of identity, that freedom from expectation, is a huge part of the allure.
It's like a collective, temporary masquerade where academic vulnerability is exchanged for sheer social volume and confidence.
That's a perfect way to describe it. You can try on a new, bolder self for a few hours. That's the initial positive experience.
And as the night at Midnight Madness progressed into its peak, Derek found himself fully immersed in this atmosphere of uninhibited celebration.
For a significant period, the party genuinely delivered on the promise of the hype that had been built up for 3 years.
Right. He moved from being an observer to a participant. The reporting suggests he got caught up in conversations that felt deeply profound in the moment.
Discussions about life goals, deep-seated dreams, and quiet fears.
The kind of vulnerability that intoxication and a shared environment can sometimes facilitate. This highlights the function of these events beyond just, drinking.
Absolutely. The materials detail specific, meaningful connections that were made, and often these connections become the actual lasting benefits students take away.
He met Emma, for example, a junior studying environmental science.
And they quickly bonded over a shared passion for hiking and the outdoors, a topic so far removed from the thumping bass.
And he also connected with Marcus.
Right, a transfer student who admitted to Derek that he felt equally out of place at these massive events, but was trying to force himself to participate.
That shared vulnerability, two people who felt slightly like outsiders finding each other in the epicenter of the social scene, that is the real appeal.
It's the genuine sense of community, the shared moment of escape from the crushing weight of academic pressure, and that feeling of being genuinely young and alive, as the reporting described it.
Yeah, it's critical to acknowledge that college parties, despite all their risks, they do function as essential social infrastructure.
They're a platform for meeting new people and fostering connections that simply aren't possible in the rigid, scheduled setting of a classroom or a lab.
And those connections have tangible long-term value, right? We tend to simplify parties as just being about fun.
But the friendships built in these informal settings can easily lead to academic collaboration, like forming a study group the next week.
Or even providing professional networking contacts down the line. That informal atmosphere can bridge social and academic gaps that formal settings often fail to address.
Precisely. And we absolutely cannot overlook the stress relief component. College life today is incredibly demanding and often isolating.
For sure. Parties offer genuine recreation and a vital break from constant academic stress and performance anxiety.
Oh, definitely. The physical and mental benefits of pure release, the endorphins from dancing, the genuine mental health boost from laughing loudly with friends are real.
They are. The break, when it's properly managed, prevents burnout. Counterintuitively, taking balanced time off can actually reset the mental frame and improve overall performance when students return to their intense studies.
The fundamental challenge, however, is maintaining that delicate balance.
Right, and ensuring that the break remains genuinely restorative, not destructive or dangerous.
So everything is moving along perfectly for Derek. The celebration is at its peak, the connections are real.
But the material describes a very sharp, dramatic transition.
As midnight approached, Derek's naturally observational, cautious nature, it kicked back in.
He started to notice risks lurking just beneath the surface of the fun.
This is the pivotal moment where the atmosphere shifts.
Derek, having maintained a level of vigilance and relative sobriety, had strategically positioned himself near the edges of the main crowd. He was keeping an eye on the entry and exit points.
And that awareness allowed him to spot subtle, creeping dangers that were completely missed by those who were fully immersed in the experience.
And what he noticed wasn't just generalized, harmless revelry anymore. It was a catalog of specific, high-risk behaviors and immediate threats.
Yes, it began with severe excessive drinking. He saw students visibly struggling, engaging in behaviors that indicated a dangerous level of intoxication.
He saw one young woman stumble past, completely unable to bear her own weight or stand without assistance.
And the friends she was with were themselves too intoxicated to notice or offer proper help.
The chain of responsibility had completely broken down.
He also witnessed clear examples of peer pressure. Someone repeatedly insisting that another student take multiple shots, despite visible protests and refusal.
That inability to respect personal boundaries under pressure is a huge red flag.
And here is where the danger becomes truly acute, where the systemic risk surfaces.
The reporting describes a crucial moment where Derek observes someone potentially slipping a substance into a beverage.
The perpetrator clearly believed they were unobserved.
But Derek's decision to remain sober and alert made him the one exception.
That specific, chilling observation is vital. It underscores why the non-negotiable safety measures we'll detail later are so necessary.
But also how invaluable it is to have sober, aware individuals present in any crowded environment.
The moment he saw that tampering attempt, the protective boundaries of the party they dissolved entirely.
And the environment itself was quickly deteriorating, wasn't it? How did the ambiance change from fun to frightening?
The atmosphere became heavy, almost thick, with a palpable sense of unease.
The music, which was celebratory moments earlier, now felt darker, more aggressive.
The laughter wasn't genuine anymore. It was strained and forced. The energy wasn't about shared fun. It was clearly shifting toward outright chaos.
And we are talking about basic environmental failures. Personal boundaries were totally forgotten.
Right. The temperature inside the crowded house was soaring to an unbearable level, and the crowd density had swelled significantly beyond what the structure could safely hold. It was a suffocating feeling.
Overcrowding is such a massive, often overlooked physical risk factor. When you combine it with intoxication, it turns minor friction points into major conflicts instantly.
Right, and that mixture of density, heat, and impaired judgment acts as a powder keg.
Derek witnessed small, insignificant arguments sparking over truly minor issues: a spilled drink, a misunderstood comment, or a misplaced glance.
The friction was immediate, and the potential for rapid escalation was terrifyingly high.
And inevitably, that powder keg blew up.
The reporting details a rapid escalation to outright chaos when a seemingly simple verbal disagreement turned physical, extremely fast pushing, shoving, and then full-on deliberate punches being thrown.
That moment of transition from loud music to actual violence is horrifying.
And the sound of a bottle shattering against the wall, that's a specific sound cue that transforms the joyous ambience completely into pure turmoil and physical danger.
The crowd reacted instantly, scattering in waves of fear and panic.
At a moment like that, most people's bodies simply freeze or they get swept up in the collective chaos.
But Derek, thanks to his prior mental preparation and his clarity of mind, was able to draw upon a deep inner strength. He initiated calculated, immediate actions.
So what were those critical immediate actions? Because these are really the textbook steps for effective bystander intervention in a crisis.
He focused on securing the immediate safety of the people around him first. He quickly located his new acquaintance, Emma,
who had been separated from him in the stampede.
And he guided her forcefully but calmly out to a safer corner, away from the main violence.
Second, which is a step often forgotten in panic, he checked on an injured student who had been knocked down in the rush to escape.
Ensuring they were still conscious and breathing, that is a critical first aid step. Stabilize the injured party and prevent further harm.
But the truly effective turning point, the action that had the greatest systemic impact, was his next move, alerting campus security.
And he wisely didn't attempt to break up the fight himself. That's just too dangerous.
Instead, he moved swiftly to a quiet corner where he could think and speak clearly, and he provided specific, calm details to the authorities.
That calm, crystal clear communication is paramount for emergency responders. He provided the exact location, the precise nature of the altercation, including the presence of shattered glass, and an estimated crowd size.
which enabled security to intervene efficiently and with appropriate force to restore order.
And crucially, once security was fully engaged, Derek took the critical step of informing them about the individual he had observed potentially tampering with drinks earlier in the night.
He connected the dots between the chaos of the fight and the systemic, premeditated criminal dangers present in the crowd.
His actions didn't just halt a fight, they addressed fundamental systemic risks.
And his intervention had a significant and lasting impact on the entire Coral Gables campus community, far beyond that single night.
Yes. The university, recognizing the clarity and effectiveness of his intervention, didn't let him fade back into the background.
Derek became a powerful advocate for responsible partying, sharing his story at freshman orientation sessions.
That is such a powerful message, sharing the experience not to discourage socializing, but to actively promote awareness and safety.
He moved the conversation from "don't party" to "party safely and look out for one another."
And he and his new friends, Emma and Marcus, went beyond just speaking. They actively helped establish a student-led safety initiative.
This program trained volunteers to be present at all large social events, acting explicitly as sober monitors and reliable resources for students who needed assistance.
They effectively created a committed peer-to-peer network designed to change the underlying party culture from within.
And the fraternity that hosted Midnight Madness, facing intense campus scrutiny, also implemented major changes.
The reporting indicates they instituted mandatory professional security presence at all future events, severely limited guest lists to manageable numbers, and importantly, formed active partnerships with local harm reduction organizations.
It proves that awareness, decisive action, and community care can absolutely coexist with celebration. It elevated the entire culture of social events.
Let's shift our focus now to the broader spectrum of risks inherent in the college party environment, because the dangers go far beyond a single fight breaking out.
We need to dissect the consequences of excessive consumption, which is almost endemic to this setting.
It's a foundational issue. The reporting highlights the prevalence of alcohol consumption, which carries multiple serious risks.
First, there's the legal issue of underage drinking, or minor in possession, MIP, which can result in serious legal and financial consequences that extend far beyond the campus.
But even for students of legal age, the primary issue is often binge drinking, the consumption of 4 or 5 or more drinks in a short 2-hour period.
And binge drinking dramatically increases the risk of acute issues like alcohol poisoning, severe accidents, and critically impaired decision-making, all of which can haunt a student for years.
The sheer volume of alcohol in a short time can lead to a student's blood alcohol content, their BAC rising so quickly that their body just can't metabolize it.
Alcohol poisoning is a life-threatening emergency characterized by confusion, vomiting, seizures, and dangerously slow breathing. It requires immediate medical attention.
And then we must consider the element of illicit drug use, which is an increasingly present danger at large college parties.
This can involve substances like marijuana, MDMA, or hallucinogens. The massive undeniable issue here is the unknown purity and the completely unknown composition of street drugs.
Which means the danger level is exponentially higher than most students realize. They are rolling the dice with their health.
Yeah, a substance sold as MDMA might contain deadly fentanyl or cheap, dangerous stimulants.
And we absolutely must focus on polydrug use. The mixing of various substances, especially mixing alcohol with other central nervous system depressants.
That is often what leads to the most catastrophic outcomes.
Polydrug use, mixing substances like alcohol, which is a CNS depressant, with prescription drugs like Xanax or even just over-the-counter painkillers, places enormous, often fatal strain on the cardiovascular and respiratory systems.
To get technical for a moment, the danger is that depressants amplify each other's effects. Alcohol slows your heart rate and breathing.
If you add another depressant, the combined effect can lead to fatal respiratory depression, where the body literally slows down so much that the brain simply forgets to send the signal to breathe.
It's a quiet, often undetected death in a crowded room. It's vital technical knowledge that many students unfortunately lack when they're in the middle of a crowded, fast-paced party environment.
And beyond the immediate crisis moments, the fight, the overdose, there are significant long-term academic and health consequences that follow students long after the party ends.
Definitely. Academically, the data is quite clear. Frequent late nights, combined with the debilitating effects of hangovers, lead to substantially lower grades and increased absenteeism.
The reporting suggests that chronic binge drinking correlates to an average drop of 0.5 GPA points per semester.
That is a serious hit to academic standing.
And that drop is tied to physical mechanisms. When students lose sleep or consume excess alcohol, it directly affects memory consolidation.
The brain uses REM sleep to process and store information learned that day, and alcohol severely disrupts this process.
So if you study for a test and then drink heavily, you are essentially erasing the memory formation from your brain's short-term buffer.
And the physical health effects, these are chronic concerns.
The long-term risks are pervasive and serious. They include liver damage from fatty liver disease to cirrhosis, significant cardiovascular issues, and a significantly increased risk of developing alcohol use disorder.
And the unhealthy drinking patterns established during the high-pressure environment of college often continue well into adulthood, leading to lifelong chronic health issues.
And we cannot, under any circumstances, ignore the legal ramifications. A night that starts as fun can instantly turn into a criminal record that lasts decades.
Precisely. Citations for minor in possession, for public intoxication, or for simple drug possession are not minor infractions. These are criminal records.
And the reporting highlights how these records can deeply impact future career prospects, especially if a student is aiming for fields that require intense ethical screening or background checks.
Like education, law, medicine, finance, or government service.
A momentary lapse in judgment can genuinely derail professional opportunities and ambitions completely.
And finally, we have to talk about the unseen psychological forces at play. Peer pressure and the pervasive fear of missing out, or FOMO.
That social pressure is dramatically amplified in the current era by social media,
where students constantly see only the seemingly perfect, exciting, and highly curated party moments showcased, while the negative consequences, the hangovers, the regrets, the legal woes, are entirely hidden.
This results in a compulsion. Students may feel absolutely compelled to attend parties they don't even enjoy or participate in activities that make them deeply uncomfortable,
simply to maintain their social status or avoid the anxiety of feeling left out. Setting and maintaining firm personal boundaries becomes an incredibly challenging act of defiance in that climate.
We have to talk frankly about the most serious and devastating risks associated with parties: sexual assault and harassment.
The materials we looked at make it abundantly clear that parties, especially those where intoxication is widespread, unfortunately create environments where these incidents are far more likely to occur.
That is correct. The combination of overcrowded spaces, reduced inhibitions due to intoxication, and a general lack of vigilance creates a significant vulnerability gap.
The overwhelming majority of campus sexual assaults reported, in fact, involve alcohol consumption by one or both parties involved.
This brings us to the non-negotiable topic of consent. Alcohol and drug use fundamentally impair a person's judgment and their ability to give or receive clear ethical consent.
This distinction is critically important. Consent is not passive. It must be an active, ongoing agreement, and it is best defined by the Fries model.
That Fries model is essential for clarity. FRIES stands for freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific.
Consent is freely given, no pressure. Reversible, you can change your mind at any time, even mid-act.
Informed, you know what you are consenting to. Enthusiastic, not just compliant. And specific, it applies only to the activity discussed.
And the absolute non-negotiable fundamental key point here is that incapacitation, whether caused by excessive alcohol, drugs, or sleep, removes the ability to consent entirely.
If someone is too intoxicated to stand, too confused to speak coherently, or passed out, they cannot legally or ethically agree to sexual activity. To proceed in that state is assault.
That is the absolute ethical foundation of safety and respect in these environments.
And beyond the definition of consent, we must detail the practical, non-negotiable safety protocols students must employ every single time they attend a large social gathering.
Let's start with the classic and most effective, the buddy system.
Never, ever go to parties alone. Establish a rigid plan before you even arrive, check in with each other regularly throughout the night, and commit absolutely to leaving together.
The buddy system ensures that someone you trust notices immediately if your behavior changes suddenly or if you find yourself in a risky situation.
Friends who are checking in on each other can intervene when one person's judgment becomes impaired.
Next, protecting your drink. We saw Derek witness potential tampering, which is a terrifying daily reality on campuses.
It happens far too frequently. The advice here must be absolute. Always watch your drink being prepared, never accept drinks from strangers, and never leave your drink unattended.
Not even for a moment to go dance or use the restroom. If you lose sight of it, even briefly, you must discard it and get a new one.
This caution is necessary because of the risk of spiking with substances like Rohypnol, often known as roofies, GHB, or ketamine.
These are fast-acting, colorless, and odorless depressants.
GHB, for example, is particularly dangerous because it rapidly induces euphoria followed by severe sedation, amnesia, and often renders victims completely unconscious or compliant, wiping out their memory of events.
Knowing your limits is also critical, but it is often the hardest rule to stick to when genuine peer pressure is high or when the FOMO is overwhelming.
It demands a level of self-awareness that is hard to maintain when everyone else is shouting one more shot.
You must understand your personal alcohol tolerance, which can vary based on factors like weight, gender, and whether you've eaten recently.
The fundamental rule is to pace your drinking. Alternate every alcoholic beverage with a full glass of water and never feel socially pressured to keep up with the fastest drinkers.
Pacing is genuinely a life-saving habit.
And the final essential logistical piece, the exit strategy.
Always have a rock-solid plan for getting home safely before you leave your dorm or apartment.
This means arranging a designated driver, budgeting for a reliable rideshare service, or confirming the campus shuttle schedule.
Always ensure you have the money, the phone charge, and the mental clarity to execute the plan. Never drive impaired, and never, ever get into a vehicle with an impaired driver.
Having a pre-established exit strategy removes any barrier to making the safe choice to leave the moment things feel wrong.
Which leads us directly to the final, most critical piece of personal advice. Trust your instincts.
Yes. If a situation feels uncomfortable, if the energy shifts, if you feel unsafe for any reason, leave immediately.
Your intuition is an incredibly powerful, evolved tool for self-protection, and you must heed it without hesitation.
Do not worry about seeming rude or making a scene or being perceived as overreacting. Your safety, your health, and your legal standing are infinitely more important than social niceties.
Or worrying about someone else's fragile ego.
Yeah.
If someone is actively pressuring you to stay when you want to leave, that in itself is one of the biggest red flags you should ever encounter.
That's right. That feeling of discomfort is your internal warning system screaming at you, and you must listen to it immediately.
So, as we reflect on Derek's transformation and his experience at Midnight Madness, the main message is perfectly clear. College is an unparalleled time for exploration, connection, and profound growth.
But that growth must never, ever come at the expense of your fundamental well-being, your core values, or your future prospects.
The reporting reminds us that the best memories you create are invariably the ones you can clearly recall the next morning without any sense of regret or shame.
You absolutely can celebrate, you can connect, and you can enjoy the intensity of college life while still making choices that honor your safety, your health, and your boundaries.
And, Derek's story, which became something of a campus legend, proves that taking decisive action and promoting a culture of community care can lead to a far more enjoyable, safe, and positive social scene for everyone involved.
His actions elevated the culture for hundreds of students who followed.
Absolutely. Well, before we close out today's discussion, we always want to hear directly from you, our listener, about your perspective.
That's right. If you have any opinions or deeply felt experiences related to college party safety, or perhaps success stories of intervention that you've been a part of, maybe you helped establish a similar safety initiative, please share those experiences and your insights in the comments section below. We read them all, and they help immensely in informing and strengthening our community.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Party Animal Podcast. Make sure to check back in for future episodes, and please click that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to help this podcast bring more awareness to others while enjoying an amazing time minus the pitfalls.
Be safe out there.